Hello and welcome to episode 30 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're your source for weekly Drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, basically we're just regular dudes drinking irregular beers, talking about Magic, specifically Magic Arena, with a heavy focus on casual play.
Organized casual play is what we'll talk about.
That's always been our thing.
Yeah. Our main topic for this week, we're going to talk about the Strixhaven League Weekend number 2. But first, each week we both bring a beer, we drink our own, then drink each other's, then rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what is on tap?
All right, so this week I brought a relatively new beer from one of my favorite breweries. We haven't done collective arts in a while. And this is just a dry hopped blonde that they make. So when I saw it, I figured let's just do that one on air. It's 4.8%, and the can is Collective Arts always just has local artists, or actually they're not so local anymore. They're just artists that submit designs, so all their cans never really look the same. But this one has some sort of, I don't know, hypnotic three-eyed monkey of some sort.
Very nice. Very nice.
What'd you bring?
I brought something from Flying Monkeys, so that kind of goes with the hypnotic monkey thing. This is their Grand Terrestrial Rhapsody, always very exciting names with Flying Monkeys. This is their Pineapple Double IPA. It's 8.1%, woohoo! And it has like a picture of a heart with an eye, and then there's like some clouds with hands, and some pineapples and rainbows or something. And yeah. I did want to say I picked this one specifically because on the side it has this thing from the brewmaster. It's talking about the different hops, and I'm just kidding. I didn't do that at all.
Yeah, only a douche would do that.
Anyway, sorry. Let's get into some Magic news. Oh boy, did we get a bomb dropped on us this week? Ugh.
Yep.
If you have not heard yet. There's a big announcement about Magic and the gathering of Magic and, organized play. So, where do we even start?
Yeah, so they're just not really, like, pro or even competitive Magic is just not going to be a thing anymore, basically.
Nope.
So they're going to try to reorient everything towards as diverse a play group as possible. So they already started to do this a little bit, right? Grand Prix became Magic Fests, which now had the Grand Prix as their quote-unquote main event, but they were clearly trying to focus less and less on the main tournament, the big prize tournament, and more on the side events, and get the Commander players to come with their friends, and get
which
people
is
who love to draft to come play, and people who love sealed can play.
And all of that stuff is super great, right? Like, it's wonderful to have. But basically, what they're saying is they want to do, like, instead of a top-down approach, they want to do a ground-up approach. So the top-down thing they tried to do was the MPL, where they had a bunch of pros working from the top down and kind of showing, they're making like the star power of the pros, and people want to be pros, and so they work really hard to get up to there. However, those avenues were so small that, like, the average person who's playing or learning how to play Magic, it just seems absolutely impossible. Like, there's just no way you're ever going to get part of the MPL. It's so hard to get any type of spot. It's not going to happen. So the nitty-gritty of what went on is basically saying that the MPL and the Rivals Leagues will be ending in the 21-22 season. So that's next season. So we still have it for the end of this season and into next year. However, it's just going to be a lot different. There will no longer be league weekends or gauntlets in the 21-22 season. And then
there can't be gauntlets because there's nothing for them to qualify for.
So it is good because this is like 15 months in advance, essentially, saying this announcement. So it effectively means that the pro players that are pros right now, they will just no longer get they're all fired, basically.
They were fired with 15 months notice,
which is, that is nice. However, for the 22-23 season, nothing is in place. There are no they don't know what they're going to do yet. Which is the part that a lot more people feel scared about and kind of frustrated with. it is nice to note that they did tell everyone when they already knew they wanted to stop it. So that's good at least. Although I don't know how long they've been thinking about this, but at least they didn't finish the season and then all the challengers got in through the gauntlets and everyone's so excited. And then they're like, by the way, this is the last time we're going to do this. You get to be in the last MPL or rivals. Have fun, you know. Also, there's no league weekends, so you don't get to do that either. You just kind of go to some tournaments and get paid.
But they get their salary, right?
So that's good. So all the challengers, at least they have something to work towards. You get a salary for a year. But basically, then what's going to happen in 22-23 is that pros, there will be no more pros. They aren't going to put any money into making being a professional Magic player a lifestyle or an effective occupation. They're saying they want to put more money into prize pools for tournaments and things, and you can work towards getting that, but they're not going to pay for pros plane tickets or for them to go to all the pro tours and the hotels and those kinds of things. So to make it easier for these pros to play, which is, it's kind of sad. I mean, I think Paolo Vitor Damarosa put out a really great YouTube video about it. And I think listening to the pros is probably the best way to go because they're the ones who are really affected. For the rest of us, it's actually kind of nice as far as like, hey, if you want to go to these tournaments or play in high level stuff, it feels a little bit more accessible because they are catering towards people that are all challengers as opposed to the old system where it felt like it was impossible.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that, like, the pros actually had a meeting with representatives from Wizards and got more information than the little thing, the tiny announcement they let out that basically said nothing.
Yeah.
It's just that, no more pros, and can't reveal what's 22-23 will look like.
Exactly. So it is important to note that the meeting where the pros found out about this was 5 minutes after the pros had to submit their deck lists for the league weekend that happened this weekend. Yeah. So everyone submits their deck list. They're great. Then they're like, okay, we have this meeting at 12. They go to the meeting, and then they're like, you're all fired. And everyone's like, we just worked really hard on this weekend. And and then we all found out, and really took the wind out of the sails for the league weekend. I was pretty excited for a while, and then after that came out,
it's just such a weird time to announce it, like right before you have a big tournament.
And then like everybody was like, I don't think attendance was necessarily down, but it was just like, okay, like whatever.
The timing is super weird.
It's super weird.
Okay, before a big event, maybe it's because you wanted the pros to know the stakes so that they don't devote all their time to it. Well, that's not it either because you said it right after deck lists.
Yeah. And a lot of people on Twitter were saying like, oh, well, they had to say it right after deck lists so they didn't get a bunch of 75 land decks that were submitted. They're like, there you go. That's my deck. That's what I'm playing this weekend.
Yeah, fuck you.
Big fuck you to them. So, man, I don't know. It just threw me for a loop.
But like, if you want to do that, just do it after the league weekend.
Yeah.
Like, have everyone try, and submit the best deck they can and do their best, and then like, obviously there's no great time to do it, but this is just, to me, the weirdest possible time.
It's just a weird time.
It has no upside. It's like everyone invested all their time into this, then you told them that it doesn't matter.
Unless it was like they always have meetings right after deck lists or something. I don't think that's a thing, but
do this one at a different time. Like, you could tell someone they're fired whenever you want.
Yeah.
If you give 14 and a half months notice, that'll probably be okay.
Yeah, I don't know. But basically, I'll link PV's video in the show notes because it's definitely worth a watch. But he's kind of saying he's in Brazil and there aren't really high level tournaments in Brazil, and he can't afford to fly to the States to play in tournaments that aren't huge stakes. You can't pay for that, right?
Yeah, his expected value needs to be positive, or it's not worth it.
Or it's like, okay, so I'm going to go play like a PT-like event, and it's So they said that there will be Grand Prix and Pro Tour-like events in the new structure, whatever that is, but it's still not going to support the pros. So basically, we just won't be able to say the pros anymore. There just really won't be any. It's just going to be a new world.
Yeah, well, the pro scene won't be supported by Wizards at the very
Yes.
least. It's like I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years, there's a Star City Games supported
Yeah.
scene or
So that is the other thing.
externally supported scene. But
That-
it's not going to be from Wizards' pocket.
Exactly. So now it seems like hopefully there will be able to be these third party people putting on these big tournaments, and they become like the new scene, the pro scene. And that would be something to aspire to, because a lot of people are saying the dream of being a professional Magic player is dead, because it kind of is. And hopefully there's something that goes in their place. But for the time being, a lot of stuff is going to be kind of more regional. So it's like a pro tour-like event, except for it's basically just people in your state or your province or close to there, or just the east coast of the states, or things like that.
It's just a bummer though,
It's just
because
a
I was
bummer.
just starting to crack into the online competitive scene too, which is really great. It's been awesome playing on Baylane and all these different tournaments. But whenever I play in one of these events, the aspiration of winning the qualification into the championship is what I'm most after.
Yeah.
Sure, if you get first place, you win $1,500, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
To play in a Magic event and win that much money. So that'll still be around, presumably, if Star City Games was the one doing that in the first place. The tournaments might even be bigger now because there's no competition. But it was still I don't know. The real reason I was playing in that one as opposed to another one is because if you win, you get to qualify for the really big money tournament.
Yeah, the ones where you can, because that is the kind of tournament that a pro player can't really do if they have to fly there, because it's not going to pay for the ticket.
And it is fun for me, when I'm playing in these events and I come up against someone, I'm like, oh, that's a pro player.
Yeah, you recently played
I
against...
instantly know that I'm probably going to lose.
But it's so cool to do that.
But yeah, it's awesome.
And
played against Luis Salvato a couple of tournaments ago, and I was in a tournament that had Paulo Vitor, Damo de Rosa, and it had Arne Huschenbed in it.
Yeah,
so.
and it's just that's really cool. And that might be kind of going away a little bit, because, you won't know people as well or whatever. It just feels sad. I just feel sad around the whole thing. I'm not really upset. Overall, we were pretty high on the MPL rival thing at the beginning of this season, until they started doing league weekends named after sets that weren't in the league weekend. That started to get kind of
that's
weird.
what I was going to say about the weird timing of the firing notice. It's just so true to MPL though, because the timing on everything is weird in the MPL.
Yeah, it's just
they always seem to pick the worst time to schedule or do anything.
Yeah, so strange. It's just whatever. So in any case, it seems like the MPL and rivals, they had to go. Something had to be in its place. A lot of people who are in the MPL have talked about how it's just been awful. They have not liked it at all. So it's good that things will be different. It's just kind of it's basically just Wizards saying it's out of our hands. We're not really going to deal with that anymore. Somebody else can do what they want. Hopefully, somebody else can do what they want. I don't exactly know the legal stuff around it, but
I'm not convinced there was anything wrong with the idea of having these pro leagues, that you can aspire to, but are at the very height of competition, and you get to watch all the pros battle it out against each other. But just they didn't take a real shot at it. Neither of their systems for the for the MPL were very well thought out in the end. This one was just why is it so hard you must understand that your system is extremely complicated, and B, it's very, very difficult for me to ever find any information about what's going on. That website was atrocious.
Yeah.
So it's just clearly they just didn't, they set it up, decided to make it a thing, but they didn't take a real shot at making it successful, because I'm more tuned into this than pretty much anybody, or as tuned in. And it was next to impossible for me to find out what was going on. We'd have something coming up, and it would take me half an hour of digging to find out what format it was.
Yeah.
And it's coming up in 3 days.
And it was just been kind of like that the whole time. It's also hard because they never kept the same structure 2 years in a row. It's just like, hey, let's just change
Yeah.
it every year. Maybe it'll be better next year. Let's just scrap the whole thing and just forget about it. That's kind of what's going on.
Like my legitimate way of getting information about what was going to happen or what was going on in the MPL was to watch Gabe Nassif's stream, and like people would ask him,
And he would tell
he
them.
would say it. That was the fastest way to get the information.
And that's just ridiculous. It's just...
Yeah.
Anyway, it seems like it's been kind of screwed up from the beginning. So I'm not extremely sad to see the MPL leaving, but obviously this puts a damper on our fantasy sports that we've been doing this whole time. That we're supposed to be
Who
talking.
even cares anymore?
I know. So that was like, oh man. Anyway, so we'll see what happens for us. I mean, we'll watch what we can watch, and we're still in it for our bet, obviously. So we got to finish that out. Like we can't just
exactly.
stop.
That's what it was really all about anyway.
Obviously, everything's about beer. Why would it not be about beer?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we have to say about that. Like as far as how it addresses or how it affects us, it's mainly we just don't get to talk about it and watch it anymore, and it still affected me the whole week. I was really down. I was really sad about it. I didn't have a lot of people to talk to because nobody watched it, so I couldn't
Yeah.
talk to you. It was just kind of. Oh, it's just a bummer.
Nobody
understands my pain. Anyway, moving on. Hey, Jeff, do you know what bolts my bird?
What's that?
That like arena, man, it can't. They just have problems after problems all the time.
Yeah, I know. 2 weekends. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say about the pro thing, though. Just one last thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does this mean for stuff like Arena Opens or, stuff that basically the competitive-minded circuits they were bringing through Arena, like the Mythic qualifier weekends and stuff? What does it mean, right? They didn't tell us anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully Arena Opens are still going to happen.
I think there's one that's scheduled for July. I believe.
I know, but like in 2021, 22
Or
or in 22, 23, is this going to be a thing? Because this is one of the better things to come out of this year was the Arena Opens.
I know, but the Arena Open doesn't qualify you for a tournament, right?
Yeah, but it's still like a competitive event.
Yeah, but
I guess.
that will be fine because they said competitive events will still be around. They'll have ways for you to play competitively. You just won't be able to be a professional competitive Magic player.
You never know. This is their way of like toning it down one step.
I
at
get
a
it.
time,
That's
though.
true. Hey, instead of winning $2,000, you win $1,000, and then slowly it's nothing.
And it costs 40,000.
Yeah, or something. Anyway, so hopefully that
or
doesn't-
40,000 gold.
Yeah. But yeah, what's bolting my bird is that there is a qualification weekend for the Strixhaven Championship. You got to play in it. It's very exciting.
Yeah, because of this whole day 2 fiasco, I decided to just not even qualify for day 2 because
Yeah.
I just knew something would go
Something
wrong.
would go wrong.
And I didn't want to have to deal with that, so I decided to just scrub right out of day 1
Yeah.
and not have to bother with that.
So Jeff can see the future. One day in the future. You can see one day in the future.
I don't think this one was tough to predict.
No,
especially
not really.
the
Basically,
Arena client would have issues.
yeah, basically what happened, the day 2 of that Strixhaven Championship qualifier, the format was standard. However, when you woke up on that day and registered for the event, it was historic. And everyone was like, oh my god, it's historic. Everyone's scrambling to figure out what historic deck they're going to play. People are queuing up, not realizing it's historic, playing standard decks. Everything's all over the place. People have win records already. It's hours into the event. People are tweeting, being like, what is going on? There are people who are awake, who stayed up all night for 2 days in Australia playing this event so they can get the timing right, so they can be up, all that stuff. And then Wizards is like, oh, sorry, it was supposed to be standard. We are scrubbing everyone's records and starting over.
Yeah.
Because somebody clicked the wrong format, kind of. It seems like.
Now, what if you won your games with a legit standard deck? What if you went like 4-0 with your standard deck against historic decks? That should count double.
No.
You should just get your 7 wins.
Nope, didn't matter. They did refund. They gave everybody like 4,000 gems or something to be like, hey, sorry. But like,
But you're not playing those weekends for the gems.
I know.
Like,
they're just like, they were doing that to everyone. But like, if you had a losing record or a winning record or whatever, some stories were great. Oh, I was 0-2 and then they reset and then I went 7-0. Or, oh, I was whatever.
that tweet, if I saw someone say that and I was one of the people that went 3-0 and got rescrubbed and then like,
Get
went
screwed.
3 or
Yeah.
4-3 or whatever. That would really bolt my bird that somebody's like, oh, I started 0-2 and then I went 7-0.
Yeah. So that's just like absolutely, in my book, unacceptable. No way. That should never, ever happen again.
And the timing is just so hilarious that
Because
we're not going to put any money into competitive play anymore. This event clearly had like an intern setting it up or something.
That's exactly what I think it is. I think that Wizards employees don't work on the weekends. So they're like, oh, all the people who don't know anything have to work these events, and they get screwed up. And it's like, hey, people have to work on the weekends sometimes. I've worked the weekends almost my entire life. Just
like, wouldn't it be the same person that set up the Saturday one as the Sunday one? And wouldn't they be like, I clicked standard yesterday?
It's got to be historic today because that's how Magic works.
It's how the league weekends work, right? They flip flop between standard and historic.
So anyway, it's been a week. What is it? Are we done with the episode already? It feels like we've been talking. Yeah, damn it. It's almost ready for a beer break, and we're just getting through the news. It's just
speaking of that, getting annoyed by Twitter comments on that event, though. Mm-hmm. So, as you mentioned, I played that event, and I decided after much deliberation to play Reed Duke's Gruul Adventures deck.
Okay.
Or that a bunch of people played it.
That's the Magda one, right?
Yeah, the Gruul Magda list. I think it's actually Raphael Levy that built it. But I was really thinking about this, and I wanted to play Rakdos, but then I felt like there'd be a lot of Sultai because Sultai was the most popular deck on the league weekend. And people tend to just wait for those deck lists to drop and then copy them, which is what I did, so I'm not judging. Anyways, I thought about all my options. Eventually, I picked Reed Duke's deck. And I just get trounced, right? I think I went 2 and 3. I think I was telling you, like, some of the worst draws I've ever had. Just the deck was not cooperating with me. I would just draw, like, I'd keep a hand because it has a fast Cadillac, and then I would draw, like, Cadillac. It's a legendary permanent. I'm like,
classic.
Well, all of my tempo is fucked now. I just have a ton of tutus. But then I would just go on Twitter the next day, and it was just, like, literally my entire feed was people being like, I copied Reed's Gruul Magda deck for this event, and it turned out to be the perfect deck. I went 7-1. Literally everyone was just like, it was such a great choice to pick up Reed's deck for this event. 7-0. And I was just like, oh, fuck you guys.
Oh man, I wonder.
I guess it's gratifying to know that I didn't scrub out because of my deck choice. So that wasn't the reason I fucked up.
It's just you, and then then your luck is in there a little bit. But oof. All right. Well, after that grueling news.
So after telling you about how competitive Magic means nothing now, let's go over what happened in this past competitive Magic event.
Oh, you gotta laugh because it's really sad. I'm like, I don't know if I should cry. Anyway, the Strixhaven League
But it's
weekend,
still useful for you guys because these are the decks you're going to be playing on ladder for the next at least 2 weeks.
Or you'll be seeing it and all that stuff. Let's jump right into it. The Strixhaven League weekend number 2 results. Jeff, would you like to tell us who will be, just basically who won the weekends? Who will be going into the MPL?
These 2 names are going to sound familiar to some of you because one of us was wise enough to select both of these players, but Paulo Vitor Damo de Rosa and Stanislav Sivka are both locked in for MPL next year. I mean, I would say congrats, guys, but, I guess it's still congrats.
Congratulations, you get to be part of the last MPL ever.
That's right.
That's
Congratulations, you get your $40,000 or whatever for accomplishing that.
However, the people that were not so lucky, and these names will also look fairly familiar, they get to be part of the last Rivals League ever, which is Brian Bronduin, Shahar Shenhar, and Autumn Burchett. They have been relegated from the MPL to Rivals.
Condolences, guys. You only get your $20,000 or whatever.
Yeah. Would you like to read who gets relegated to the Challengers, who are just normal people like us?
Nothing even to challenge for anymore.
Yeah.
So we got, being relegated from Rivals, Matt Nass, Ryuzo Fuji, Lucas Esper, Matthias Leverato, Greg Orange. Those are the players that got relegated from Rivals. And I do want to quickly mention about Matthias Leverato, because he was also a Twitter story, or a story of the event. But basically, his client crashed while he was up against Kai Buddha, I believe. And the decision was that he now gets a game loss. So basically, because MTG Arena can't handle, I don't know, playing a match, he got automatically given a game loss and then got kicked out of the Rivals.
League.
It's like it's. I don't mean to laugh, Matthias, but like, it's ridiculous. It just shows how ridiculous this is.
Can't they just redo it?
And I saw Kai Buddha post, like, I played against Matthias, he got a game loss because their client can't handle a match. Like, I'm really sorry about that, Matthias. You know? Yeah. Because you don't want to win like that either, right?
No, of course not.
Especially these guys all know each other and stuff, too.
Yeah, but at least the sting doesn't hurt as much, where it's like, well, whatever. Like, if I'm a challenger, there's nothing to do next year. Like, True, it doesn't matter if I don't get in.
But imagine it costs him that, like, 25 grand or whatever the rival's salary is.
Yeah. The other thing is, like,
annoying because your client sucks.
Yeah, but there's also, like, a bunch of people that were, like, who are still in the running are just like, I'm retiring. I'm retired now. I'm done. So yeah, it's just.
I saw Lucas Esper's retirement post.
Lucas Esper is retiring, and some other people. It's just. Anyway, I don't want to keep being a downer about that. It still makes me sad.
Just drink some more beer.
Yeah, drink some beer. It'll make you happier. That is
That's right.
The biggest lie I've ever heard. Oh, boy. Okay. So, as we all know, this was a split weekend of Standard and Historic. There were basically 2 rounds per day, so 4 rounds all together. 12 matches were played per player. They were all pods of 10. And there were...
in the circus of weird decisions that is the MPL/Rivals, the Rivals, despite being a number of players divisible by 8, decided to divide them into groups of 10.
Hey, makes it easier, I guess. That's what I would have done. I don't hate them for that, because that looked like a home run slam dunk to me. 10s all around. Perfect. Easy.
Just weird.
Basically, we do fantasy sports here, as you know. We have 3 players from the MPL and 4 Rivals players, as well as guessing the highest meta percentage and top performing decks for the weekend. If you can hear that, there's a siren outside. It's coming to try to put out the fire that is the MPL. But I guess they already burned down that building. So...
Glad you went there. I was trying to think of something too. I was thinking on the police line though. So it was criminal how the league was handled.
That works too. Yeah, man, they're gonna come arrest Watsy because this weekend was atrocious. Anyway, and as always, the winner of all the league weekends and championships between me and Jeff. Wow, there is something going on here. Okay, yeah, we're good. So the winner of all the champion.
You might need to move to a different part of town, man.
Oh man, I'm living the bad part of town, bro. We're rough over here. Anyway, sorry, you're all just gonna have to live with that because that's just what's gonna happen. As always, the winner of the league weekends and the championships gets a 2-4 of beer, which is 24 curated beers. A weird 2-4. My bad. A weird 2-4 of beer. And coming into this weekend, we were tied 3-3.
Yeah, I let Zach win a couple because I felt so bad about being so far in the lead. But
I would laugh if it didn't really feel like, or I did laugh, but it does kind of feel that way with what happened this week. Spoiler alert, I got destroyed real badly. I'll just start first with actually, no, Jeff, you should start with your team. Tell us what happened.
The whole team or just MPL
Just
first?
The whole team. Let's do the whole team.
All right, let's just run it all down. Mm-hmm. So I had PV, DDR, Paulo Vitor Rosa, who played Sultimatum in Standard, and Demir Pact in Historic, the 2 decks I picked as the winningest decks of the event. So PV and I were on the same wavelength there. He got 8 points. Andrea Mengucci, whom I really asked not to play double Yorion decks. I had one request, Andrea, and he brought 4-color Doom Foretold Bant Midrange. I didn't see the Bant Midrange deck, but I'm assuming it was a Yorion list for the double Yorion whammy. He only got 3 points because of that. Should have listened. And Ken Yukihiro, mono white aggro, and Is It Phoenix got 6 points. Then we have Luis Scott Vargas, Ultimatum Jeskai Control at 8 points. Luis Salvato, Jeskai Cycling is at Phoenix, got 6 points. Grzegorz Kowalski, once again with the 1-2 punch of Sultimatum and Dimir Pact, got a whopping 9 points. And Stan Sifka, again, Sultimatum and Grixis Pact, 8 points.
Very nice.
But who are the players on your team?
So my number one pick, my star hitter, Gabriel Nassif. He was running Gruul Adventures in Standard and then Jeskai Control, and he got a whopping 2 points.
Wow.
Oof, that was rough. Real rough right off the start. And then my next two players both got relegated to rivals. Shahar Shenhar was playing Sultimatum and Jeskai Control, got 5 points, and Brian Braun-Duin was Is It Mid-Range and Dimir Pact for 4 points. Oh boy, that was real bad. Starting off real bad.
Tough start.
I had Matt Sperling for the rivals in Sultimatum and Jeskai Control for 6 points. Austin Bursovich, also 6 points with Is It Mid-Range and Dimir Pact. Chris Botello, 7 points for Timber Adventures in both Standard and Historic. And then Kai Buddha with 6 points for Gruul Adventures and Jeskai Adventures.
Yeah, so I noticed that all of my players who picked Sultimatum and Pact all did exceptionally well.
Yeah. Who would have guessed? You would have guessed.
I guess I would have.
For meta percentages, boy, it was just... Jeff, run us through what you said, and then I'll say what I said, and then we'll keep going.
Or do we want to do it one at a time? So for most played deck, I picked Naya, and you picked...
Timber Adventures.
All right. Nobody brought either deck.
Actually, there
one
was
or two players.
There was one player who played Naya and one player who played Teamer, Chris Botello.
Which was Chris Botello, yeah.
And that means neither of us beat each other, and neither of us got the most, so we got 0
We don't deserve any points.
We don't deserve any points. Those are terrible picks. Oh boy.
All right, but for the top performing deck, I chose Sultai Ultimatum.
Yes, and I chose Dimir Rogues.
Yeah, so Sultai Ultimatum was damn close. Mm-hmm. So we should mention that it was the highest played deck, I believe.
Yes.
And it was the second highest performing deck. It lost out slightly to Mono Red Aggro, if memory serves.
That is correct.
But, Sultai put out a lot more decks than Mono Red. It was something like 17 Sultai decks to 5.
I believe there were only 5 Mono Red decks, but they did well. They ate.
Yeah, so... let me just bring it up, actually.
Do it.
With the actual percentages.
While you're doing that, Dimir Rogues, I believe there was only one player, and it wasn't Brian Braun-Duin, who I thought was going to play that. They also
I thought he might pull the double whammy and just play it in both.
He didn't play it at all, and I believe it went like 50% or something. Just, not great.
Yeah, so Sultai had 17 decks between MPL and Rivals, and went 56.4% win rate. And Mono Red had 5 decks, and it went 57.1.
Yeah.
So the Sultai result is actually a little better because it had so many more decks. But obviously Mono Red was the best performing deck at 57.1. So I'm happy with that choice, but man, did we miss the mark on what people were going to play.
Boy, did we. I don't feel that bad about it. I was taking some shots, but it was like...
Yeah.
I really felt up in the air. I didn't really know what was going on. And I was just, super off. But what else is new? My whole team is off. Might as well just get everything else wrong too, except for this one. Okay, so the meta percentage for Historic, you had chosen
Gruul Aggro,
and I chose Celestia Company. Now, I did get 2 points off of this because nobody brought Gruul Aggro to Historic.
Literally nobody.
0 players. And I believe there was one person that brought Celestia Company. So
there we go.
At least I was there. So that was a nice little 2 points for me. However,
Never been this far off on meta percentages.
Well, at least you weren't this far off as I was double dipping in the Celestia Company, saying he was gonna perform the top in Historic, and no, that was wrong. That was really wrong. that was bad. Jeff, what was it? What's the best deck in Historic?
All right, so I predicted Dimir Pact. And that turned out to be the most played archetype by a lot. Mm-hmm. If you combine Dimir and Grixis, because the Dimir Pact deck plays a few red cards, so we're not even sure what the split here was between Dimir and Grixis Pact.
Yeah, they have a big...
It's basically a blue-black deck that splashes red. Anyways, 31 players brought it for over 50% of the field if you combine those two. Which I knew it was the best deck. I think this deck is broken. And so that's why I picked it as the highest performing deck, which it also was at winning 58.9% if you combine Grixis and Dimir, which smashed everything else out of the water. But I didn't know if people were going to want to play it because the Arena client isn't particularly friendly to this. So this deck can win on turn 3, but you can't really win on turn 3 in Arena because you can't click fast enough.
Yeah, the animations go too slow. All that stuff. There's weird Arena clicking tricks you can do to play this deck. So most of the deck is just learning how Arena works and just clicking stuff.
Right, and some people avoided it intentionally because of that. I just thought there'd be more players doing that. But it doesn't surprise me that maybe everyone just saw that this deck is too good not to play.
Yeah.
And it was worth that sort of painstaking thing. And also they didn't know they were fired yet, so they probably wouldn't have bothered if playing this deck if they knew that they weren't.
They would have played 80 lands in a Yorion deck. That's what they would have played.
So in the end, that left me with 54 points.
And I got a whopping 38.
So I came out a bit on top there.
A bit on top? Yeah.
It's because I picked all the players that brought Pact, and you didn't pick enough of those.
I picked players that when I had said, hey, these are our players for the weekend on Twitter, my players were like, why would you ever pick me? And then they got relegated. So that makes sense. Kai Buddha was like, Kai was like, why would you do that? And I was like, okay. Well, I tried to explain it, and then Brian's like, I also don't know why you picked me. I'm like, okay, well, I guess nobody wants to be on my team. It's fine.
Yeah.
They were also fired at that point, so maybe they were just like, fuck it.
Already checked out, yeah. So some of the big news, though, like metagame-wise, out of this event is, this is the first time in forever that almost nobody played Adventures in Standard.
That's true.
There were 4 Gruul Adventures decks, and then Teamer and Naya each had 1, So Adventures made up less than 10% of the metagame, which hasn't happened in Standard in a really long time.
Seems really weird. And that Izzet Dragon's deck was
Right, and then Izzet, or Prismari, I call it Prismari Tempo.
It's
because the Izzet Tempo deck was from last season and it was bad, and now there's Prismari cards that make it good, so I think it's fair to call it Prismari Tempo.
That's true, because they have... that's expressive iteration.
Yeah, that's the card that really puts it in contention, and having the second threat in Galazeth. Because it used to be like Goldspan or bust. The deck was solid with Goldspan and couldn't possibly win without it. And now with Strixhaven, it's actually, I think, a pretty good deck. And I think we were saying this once Strixhaven came out, that this is the deck that stood to gain the most from it of decks people played previously.
Because you can play the command and some other stuff. It is, it doesn't seem like they're playing the board wipe I was hoping they would play, but Draconic Intervention.
It should be mentioned that the deck didn't do well at 46.6%, but I don't think this is its final form, right? I think people just needed good players to tell them, hey, playing this deck is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
And so now people are going to work on it. I think more Prismari commands should be in the deck than people were playing, because I think that card's just good. And I would have more of a top end, like the Magma Opus stuff, which people seemed to shy away from. But you just have so much mana in this deck with Galazeth, and if you play Prismari Command and Goldspan Dragon, that I think it's just realistic to just cast Magma Opus.
Absolutely.
And then you can also, the treasure to ramp out Goldspan a turn earlier is pretty awesome. So
it is. Also, just having the treasure for both Galazeth and Goldspan for, value is great.
Totally.
So before we go to a beer break, let's just quickly talk about the best possible team you could get if you are playing Fantasy with us.
Yes.
So I'll read off the MPL. You can do rivals. But
sure.
So the best MPL players you could pick are Seth Manfield, who had 10 points, and then any 2 of these 3, PVDDR, Reed Duke, or William Huey Jensen, who got 8 points.
Yeah, so then the best rivals players would have been Grzegorz Kowalski, and then any 3 of Stanislav, because he got 9 points, any 3 of Stanislav Sivka, LSV, Yuta Takahashi, Mike Sigrist, or Riko Kumagai, who all got 8 points. the first 3 names there were on my team. So.
Yes. So that is part of why I lost so badly. You also had a player in the MPO part, so
That's right.
good on you. For standard, you had to pick Sultimatum for the meta percentage and then Mono Red Aggro for top performing.
Yeah, and in Historic, you had to go Tainted Pact, Tainted Pact.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I was actually considering doing coming into the event, but I was just nervous that people wouldn't want to play it because the client doesn't work, which again is ridiculous when the best deck in the format your big tournament is having doesn't work on the client you're holding for that event.
Well, we'll see if it gets a ban. That is something people have been talking about. It is possible, so we will see if that's what happens. But if you had all of those things correct, your total would be 75 points, which is a lot more than what I got.
Yeah, that puts my 54 to shame. So
Yeah, it's not so bad though.
hey, man, it didn't double you. If you doubled your score, you would have got 76. So you're fine.
Great, good. I'm happy that that's.
You got over half the possible.
I just want to
points. That's
remind
pretty
you.
sweet.
Okay, so now the score is 3-4. So it is.
I like to think of it as 4-3.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay. It is relegation time. However, if history serves us correctly, Zacks win championships. So,
Okay.
you know that I'm going to be bringing the big guns for that
I
one.
thought Arna's win championship.
No, it's Barclays win championships. Okay, so with that, I think we need to go to a beer break because, I just need a beer. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Grand Terrestrial Rhapsody.
This is matter of fact, dry hopped blonde. Blonde? I tipped the glass. I have no idea what it says.
Yep, it's a dry hopped
Okay,
blonde.
good.
Shouldn't have second guessed yourself.
Damn it! Now I look like an idiot. But what else is new?
Yeah, I was gonna say we gotta delete a lot of episodes if we're trying to avoid looking like idiots.
We got to delete about 30 episodes if we're gonna
Yeah.
try to make me not look like an idiot. All right.
I threw myself in there.
Oh, I did not hear that part. All right. Well, that's nice. Okay. Now that we're done talking about this last weekend and how the pros are dead, or not the pros, but whatever. Pro Magic is dead.
Well, they're not dead.
Yeah. But they're no longer pros, kind of. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Blah, blah. I don't care. Let's talk about Historic Anthology 5.
Yeah, so they're adding more cards to Historic. And I know we're not going to talk about the pros anymore, but it is funny that this is coming out, I think 4 days before the pros have to submit their Historic deck lists for the upcoming championship.
You are correct. This comes out
So they're going to have 4 days to
test,
test these cards.
which, awesome. It'd be fun if that was like the beginning of a set or something.
It's a good thing they don't care anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, this comes out on May 27th. We got 25 more cards coming to Historic. I believe it's 4,000 gems or something to buy the whole bunch. But these ones,
Yep, 4,000 gems or 25,000 gold.
Correct. So these ones seem actually a bit more exciting than the Historic Anthology number 4, which we had talked about.
Oh, it looks much better.
Absolutely. Yeah. But obviously there's 2 huge reasons. The first one I want to point out, obviously, we get all the OG Praetors. So now you can have all the Praetors in Historic. Awesome.
Yeah. And what is cool is they're doing the Phyrexian thing,
Yes.
that they did with the other Vorinclex. Since these are also Praetors, they're getting that treatment as well. And they look great. They look, the Vorinclex looked great, and these ones look great too.
It's so cool. Yeah, and apparently that's going to be a what is it? Secret Lair coming up. So that's it's you can buy Secret Lair that, and they're all the Praetors, which are the special.
More importantly, you
things.
can buy them on Arena.
Exactly. They will be more accessible in card styles on Arena, which is great. It also makes it feel like a certain group of people will be coming to the vampire wedding in the fall, maybe crashing a wedding, then bringing people
I thought that one of them would be on Strixhaven, so
that's what we thought.
I don't know anymore.
We were talking what's his Gingitaxis? A lot of people were that were saying that they would be on Strixhaven, but it seems like we're not going to get the Vorinclex on Kaldheim, and then a different one on Strixhaven, and then a different one.
Yeah, they're throwing us a curveball here.
So now it's maybe we're going to get all of them crashing the wedding. I would be so down for that. I really...
Hey, even if just a couple of them crash the wedding, that'd be sweet.
What if Elish Norn is like the priest at the wedding? She like eats the vampire priest and comes out to like...
I mean, they've played a lot in the space, though, of people pretending to be other people on planes.
That's
like,
true.
It's now 2 in a row, so we could...
I was thinking more that was, oh, you know who I am, but I fucking ate that dude, and now I'm going to eat the rest of you or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, random, whatever that is aside, it's going to be fun to have them in Historic. I think mainly for Historic Brawl, and I think is going to be pretty sweet because hey, here's 5 new commanders. Play some mono-colored decks around these awesome, not busted, but these awesome cards. Some people hate them, but I think they're all awesome.
Yeah, they're overcosted for Historic, so if they're going to see any play, I think their shot is at reanimation, as a reanimation target.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a tough time with that, too, because none of them win on the spot. And currently it's possible to build a Historic deck where you reanimate Sphinx of the Lost Trove, or whatever it's called.
And then you play...
And you usually win on the spot because you get your
game-winning cards. Yeah.
So it's going to be hard for like a value reanimator. That's not really a thing anymore. You know, that was a thing in the old days of Magic, but formats are too powerful now. Like, that value-based reanimator decks don't usually work because, you know, the upside is just a powerful value engine, and the downside is you have to play against some graveyard hate and you can't win. So
yeah, and this, you know, Historic Anthology has a ton of graveyard hate stuff.
But, you know, I'm with you. The cards are cool. Sure, like, Commander players have grown to hate certain ones because the effects are really, really lopsided. But
yeah, well, hate and love some. I opened an OG Vorinclex at a draft once, and so now I love that card because I used to play it a lot.
Nice.
And I hate Elish Norn because I don't have one. So now I can have all of them and love them all.
I think Elish Norn is the only one I've played.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I play it? I think I had it... I might have had it as a dubious challenge target at some point.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I've definitely played it. So in Modern, I think. So there was something crazy going on, and I did spend a lot of time messing around with Dubious Challenge. But yeah, I think it was in my sideboard in that deck to wipe my opponent's board.
That seems pretty sweet. I think they're all cool. I really like the flavor of all of them, so it's just going to be great to see them running around.
Yeah, I like the, like, you know, anti-symmetric effects or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get a bonus and your opponent gets the kind of equal and opposite debuff.
And they are rude and awesome, except for Eurobrask is not that bad, but probably the most annoying, just like randomly annoying, but
that's the one that's probably closest to actually
playable.
seeing any play.
Yeah, exactly. Which is
because it only costs 5, which is still too much for Historic, probably. But
hey, you never know. I would love to see any of them, but hopefully on my side of the battlefield. It's also pretty sweet that we are getting the commands from what is it, Khans? No, this is Dragons of Tarkir.
Yep.
So we're getting all the dragon commands, which coincidentally are all allied colored. So now we have allied colored dragon commands and enemy colored dragon commands from Strixhaven. That just feels really nice. I like that went together.
I love when they do this, like when they did it with the shrines. They released shrines in Standard, and then they released all the previous shrines in Historic Anthology. Even though none of them see any play, I think it's just cool that they did that. And now they're doing like a souped up version because all the commands are pretty good. Like, I think this set of commands is on the balance a little stronger than the Strixhaven ones.
Mm-hmm.
Except the blue ones, interestingly enough, in this set, the blue ones were the worst commands.
Interesting.
And, yeah, the other ones were good. But yeah, it's just cool now that every color pair has a command in Historic. That's great.
You can play commands all over the place, and you get to play your favorite one again.
That's right. Koligon's Command, another card I've played a lot of in Modern, and is the best of all 10 commands, I think.
I think a lot of people would agree with that. But even with just those 10 cards, which you can go look at them, we're not going to read any of them just because it's a lot of words, and we've had a lot of things we've talked about.
Yeah, those 10 cards in particular have the most words. So.
Yeah, exactly. But usually we talk about whether you should get this or not. I mean, like the last one we were pretty against. Like it just doesn't seem really worth it. These ones,
yeah.
I mean, just having all the commands just to have them, I'll probably be playing a few of them in decks. So
for sure, this one's a lot closer, definitely. Personally, I just, I don't think you need does this give you 1 copy of each?
No, you get 4 copies of each.
Yeah, but you don't need 4 each of the Praetors, You're probably good crafting 1 of those, because even if you do play it, it's going to be in Historic Brawl, or it's going to be as a reanimation target. You just don't need 4 copies. So that's what makes me a little hesitant. But the commands are definitely mostly worth it. If you didn't play against these commands, if you weren't playing at the time, the mono red deck of that age was called Atarka Red, and it was just mono red that splashed green for Atarka's command, and it was very, very strong. And a lot of decks played Dramoka's command because it's like a removal spell / protection spell. It protects your creatures, and also acts as a removal, and then randomly takes out enchantments if you need it for just 2 mana. As we said, Koligon's command is awesome. The other 2 didn't see a ton of play because they're just more expensive.
Yeah.
But they're also, if you just read the cards, pretty strong. So I think the commands are definitely worth it. But I'm just wondering, all the mythic rares are cards I kind of wouldn't need more than 1 of.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I agree with that. I just, I'm much closer to being snap.
Wait, the last one wasn't even
these.
a consideration, and this one, I think, I wouldn't necessarily fault somebody for doing that. I would say you're probably overpaying a bit because you don't need it all, but just maybe for the convenience or to inspire you to build decks you otherwise might not, it could easily be worth it.
Also because there's Dragonstorm. So Dragonstorm is a card I have always thought is super cool.
Yeah.
I've never played it, but it came out when I was a kid, and it was like...
I was going to say we're showing our age a bit here, because I remember this card as a kid and being like, what?
I just... Dragons...
How many dragons do I get?
Yeah.
The answer is realistically 1. Because
you can't do it.
You can't have casted anything before this.
I will read this card because it's been fun, especially now that they're bringing all these Storm cards to Historic. This is just another great one to add to the pile. But it's Dragonstorm. It is 8 and a red for a sorcery. You get to search your library for a dragon permanent card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. And it has Storm, of course, because it's Dragonstorm. So it's a 9 mana sorcery that hopefully you can get more than just 1 dragon. But I just like it because it's hey, we've been making more dragons. This last set had Elder Dragons. We're going to Dungeons and Dragons, which is going to have dragons. You can maybe. Here's Dragonstorm. Here's just another, maybe you could do something with it. I don't know. It just kind of feels like we don't really know what you'll do with it, but you can go have fun and try. And I just think that's great.
Yeah. I love everything about this card. So it passes the awesome test, which, as we just proved, because both of us looked at this as a kid and we're like, what? That's awesome.
That's so awesome. I love that it has Storm in the title and it's one of the abilities. Ugh.
Yeah, I love that it's just literally Dragonstorm and it literally just storms off on dragons.
Easy.
That's
it's great.
So it's really elegant that way, but also what that entails is imagine building this deck. I need a bunch of cantrips and rituals to storm off, but I also need to put some big ass dragons in my deck. It's asking you to do 2 dichotomous things that are, it's just really cool when they're next to each other like that. You wouldn't normally build any, this asks you to build a deck that you would never otherwise build, which I think is really cool. And it's priced right, it's not good. So.
Yeah, it's really not, unless you can make infinite mana. So you can play the bird.
No one's gonna be like, oh fuck, I lost a Dragonstorm again. You're gonna be like, wow, I just lost a Dragonstorm. That was awesome.
I've never lost a Dragonstorm. It's funny because I've been playing actually. There's the so there's the
Doesn't even
bird.
give them haste, man. Like this card would be fun. Doesn't even give them haste.
But you can go get.
So even when you do the thing,
Velomachus.
you could still lose to Wrath of God.
Yeah. Oh man. So it's funny because this is the card that I just like want to screw up this mono red storm deck, which is just like it's really you're playing Burgee
Yeah.
and you're playing Burgee and what is it Grinning Ignis to get
Yeah.
like just play it over and over again to get your storm count high, and then you play Grape Shot. Well, instead of playing Grape Shot, I'm gonna play
Instead
Dragon
of winning
Storm.
the game,
I'll play Dragon Storm instead.
I'm gonna lower the consistency of my combo because I'm just gonna draw like a 8-drop dragon randomly.
And then I'll put in cards that let me shuffle that dragon from my hand into my deck.
Fire Prophecy, baby.
Oh man.
No, I love this card. It's awesome.
Oh.
And I think it actually was in a Pro Tour deck at some point.
It
'cause
was!
It's just the best storm option they had.
It was. It's so cool. Now we just need Ignite
I think it was
Memories.
like you Mind's Desire into this or something. Like,
It just anyway. So I'm just happy that that's here. It just brings me back. I love it, and it just I'm on the fence of I'm probably going to grab this. That's where I am. We got a couple like flashback cards that destroy enchantments and artifacts. Some other like things that are trying to help you get like a what's that Tempered Steel to make a Tempered Steel deck. There's some artifacts.
yeah, they seem to like be consistently
Pushing-
throwing in 1 or 2 tools for that. I gotta say, I don't think Court Homunculus is what gets it there.
Probably not.
Like the big payoff is it's a 2/2 for 1, which isn't good enough in today's standard.
No, but
today's
it's in
historic.
white, so
Anyways.
that's the best you can do.
Yeah, but they also gave Vault Scourge, which actually did see play in Modern Affinity because it's a 1-mana, 1/1 flying lifelink artifact creature. So
Yeah,
that is actually kind of
relevant.
at rate.
So that's pretty sweet. Stifle. So this is another sweet card that came out when I was a kid that I didn't understand what it did, because
Yeah, this is the classic card that I was like, that card is probably good, but I don't get
yeah.
it.
So if you don't know Stifle, it's just a single blue mana for an instant counter target activated or triggered ability. I didn't understand what either of those things were. I knew what counter
Yeah,
spells
none
were.
of us play. I think I had one, and none of us played it in our play group because we didn't understand what it meant. So we're like,
When I was a
let's
kid,
just not play it.
I had the World Championship from San Francisco, the Gabriel Nassif deck. It was one of
So
his.
you've been a Nassif fan for a while.
Yeah, not this weekend, but
Yeah.
it's pretty upset about this weekend. But no, it was a classic white blue control deck, and it had 4 of those on the sideboard, and I was like, "What is this card?"
What does it even do?
And I was just
why
like,
do I have so many fetch lands in my deck?
I was like, I was just like so confused. I didn't get it, and I was like, "Wow, there's no real way to win." I guess it was just like those decks were pretty interesting actually as a kid, kind of.
Dude, I
trying
got
to
I
understand
got one too.
Tournament Magic.
My like mom bought it for me or something as a birthday gift, or no, it wouldn't have been birthday because both me and my brother got one. But anyways, I had Blue Green Madness, and I think my brother got Band Control. So and we would like swap back and forth which one was played, And I didn't understand either deck really. Like I got the Madness thing fairly quickly. It's like, oh, you have all these things to discard. But like I didn't really understand why my Wild Mongrel was good and stuff like that. And in the control deck. But I did kind of come to appreciate fetch lands from that control deck because it had a lot of threshold cards. Like Moment's Peace or no, Moment's Peace was a flashback card. But it had some threshold cards and I was like, wow, the fetch lands, which I thought were just worse than why would I want this when I have to pay a life to go get an island,
Yeah.
Like, why not just have an island? And after playing with it, I'm like, wow. Like, I get to choose island or plains, which is the obvious thing. The first off, realizing that is worth paying a life. And just filling up for threshold was like, oh my god, if I have 3 fetch lands in my starting hand, I can threshold so early. Like, this is great.
Yeah, and that was before you could fetch for a shock because shocks weren't around yet.
No, yeah, and the original dual lands were not in the format, so they didn't have those.
So it was literally just fetching for a basic.
Yeah, you were always just fetching for a basic, but I still was like, wow, these cards are really good.
Yeah.
Now I get why they're rare. But yeah, Stifle, one of those cards that you like just knew. You knew it was good, but you knew you didn't understand.
Exactly. So it is fun. So a lot of people are talking about Stifle coming into Historic, and they're like, hey, this is the thing that stops Thassa's Oracle, Stifle. It's perfect. It gets rid of that trigger. And a lot of people are like, well, you know what also gets rid of that trigger? The Counterspell. You know what? The Counterspell is useful in a lot of matchups, and Stifle is not. So
yeah. I mean, this costs 1, so...
Yeah, so that is helpful. However, like... I don't know. I feel like it might just take...
I don't think you're really going to play Stifle.
You're probably not going to run it, but...
But when somebody stifles your Fabled Passage sacrifice, you're going to be pissed. That'll only happen to you once, but I promise it'll happen to you. It's kind of like getting Mana Tithe.
Exactly. You're like, oh, fuck. Though, you know, we'll see. Like, Tail's End was getting... was seeing play. It also, you know, could counter legendary cards, but... maybe, you know, there's something cool you can do with like Stifle and like Lotus Field or something, or some gross stuff like that. Sounds I don't know, it sounds pretty fun.
Yeah. It's like one of the times I played Modern where I went to fetch on my opponent's end step for no real reason, and they flashed in Aven Mind Sensor, and that's the only time that's ever happened to me. I looked at the guy. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. Look at the top 4. I was like, you know, there's none in there. And I put it away. And the rest of the match, I was like, fetch land, fetch shock, tapped, your go. Like, absolutely. Am I
never
not
again
doing that again? Yeah. But yeah. So cool little artifact stuff. I think Stifle's okay. And then I see a bunch of like, as an old Modern player, somebody who played. I didn't play a ton of Modern, but I played a bit. I just see some classic sideboard cards here, like Ancient Grudge is something people play in Modern, because it's just so efficient. Like, you get to destroy 2 artifacts. Like, just putting a couple of these in your sideboard takes care of any deck that has a 1 artifact it's built around, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if Historic really has that yet, but if there's ever an artifact deck, Ancient Grudge is a card they can't really beat. And then Relic of Progenitus, I think, is kind of going to be the de facto graveyard hate now.
Yeah, so Relic of Progenitus really feels like that's going to be the one.
It's obviously not strictly better than Soul Guide Lantern. It's a little different, but it's mostly better. Mostly better than Soul Guide Lantern. Because you can just kind of sit there with the threat of activating it like you can with Soul Guide, but you're also chipping away at their graveyard. So
for like no cost, really.
Yeah, if you've played against Scrabbling Claws, this is like a better version of that. It's just great. Like, it's going to be the de facto graveyard hate, especially for decks that, like, the big difference between this and Soul Guide Lantern is Soul Guide Lantern will go in decks that care about the graveyard themselves. Yeah. Because it doesn't exile their own graveyard, whereas this exiles both. But anytime you don't care about your own graveyard, this will be your choice, probably.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And then a card I love, again, for my Modern days, is Intangible Virtue. I played the black-white tokens deck in Modern that was just awesome. I don't know if there's the support in Historic. I don't think there is. But in Modern, you have, like, Lingering Souls, which is just makes basically 4 1/1 flyers on 1 card. So this is really awesome with that. We don't have great token makers in Historic that I can think of off the top of my head, but any token maker that comes in that's efficient, it's anywhere near the power level of Lingering Souls, and it's suddenly like that's a real deck. Yeah. You know, like you have Elspeth as your top end or something, and
I was kind of I was surprised. I thought you were going to say the Grizzly Salvage was one of your cards.
Grizzly Salvage is my favorite card in this collection.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I was like, oh, he's gonna say Grizzly Salvage for sure.
Yeah.
And then you didn't.
I never played that in Modern.
Okay.
But I love this type of card for sure. Not just because it's green-black, but because it's like, this is one step away from Satyr Wayfinder. Like, I'll take Satyr Wayfinder over this for sure, but this is close. It's like as close as they're willing to give me to Satyr Wayfinder, it appears.
It's also fun to see Into the North has been thrown in here just because we have Snowlands.
Yeah, and maybe if they keep adding stuff like this slowly, like, it'll get there. What is this from? Cold Snap? I don't even recognize that symbol.
That is Cold Snap. Into the North is just a rampant growth, but for Snowlands. And yeah, it also just gets any snowland, right? It's not basic.
Yeah, so it's better than Rampant Growth in
So-
principle,
so-
because you can get a dual land.
Yes, because we have those sweet dual lands now.
Mm-hmm.
Which, hey, it's just fun. I like when they add just little pieces of everything. It's not like, hey, here's a new deck. It's just like, here's pieces that maybe you'll find new decks, and slowly they'll kind of evolve. So I'm pretty happy with this one.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that bolts my bird about this collection of cards is the reverse engineer.
Oh, yeah.
Because it just annoys me when it's like, you just have the opportunity to print this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was more egregious with the last one because it was like right after Kaladesh Remastered.
Yeah.
They just release a bunch of Kaladesh cards in the Historic Anthology, and I'm like, that feels like cheating. That feels like you're giving
And Amonkhet cards. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like it feels like you're giving me like 15 cards or 20 cards, not 25.
Yeah.
Because you could have given me these before, you just didn't and opted to do it here. Reverse engineer, a little bit in that camp. Obviously, it's been longer since Kaladesh Remastered, but like if you wanted this card in the format, it should have just been that. But only one of those cards this time. So
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously I don't understand how they make the remastered sets, and obviously cards have to be cut out because they're trying to make a certain card limit so it works with draft, or I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than I think, but it does feel weird. And
But like, I don't know, was this card so necessary to include in the format? Like, either make the decision during the construction of that set, like make the decision that it's in or it's not,
or like, why don't they just decide later, hey, this is Historic Anthology remastered cards we didn't add, and it's from all
True,
the
they could have like built it up for that.
Yeah, and it would have been like, oh, when we
then
add
I'd finally
more.
get my fucking dubious challenge.
Yeah, why didn't they add dubious challenge? That would be a great thing. Just like some random rare that would sell this set of 25 cards.
Because those of us that like dubious challenge like it a lot.
Yeah, so
There aren't many of us.
but there are some. But yeah, with this, I think that I think it's great.
Oh, we got to talk about one more card.
Okay.
Right? Ichor Wellspring.
Oh God! All right, we were talking about this before. That's why I forgot we didn't actually talk about it on the show. But
Yeah. I have a proclamation about this card. I have an analysis of it.
yeah,
Any deck in which this card is good is a stupid deck.
I think it's true. So if you are not familiar with this card, but it's in a lot of commander decks, so I'm sure people have seen it. Ichor Wellspring is a 2-mana artifact that when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and when it goes to the graveyard, you draw a card.
It just makes me think, again, going back to modern, of losing to Karklan Ironworks, where you don't get to do anything. You just sit there and they sack their artifacts and draw cards, cycle through their whole deck, and literally cycle through it enough times to crack Pyrite Spellbomb 10 times.
Oh my God!
They play and cast a single Pyrite Spellbomb 10 times. Yeah, I hate this card. And any deck where this is good is doing something dumb, where it's sacrificing artifacts and just like recursively adding them and that kind of thing. And those decks are lame.
Yeah.
So.
Are you talking about decks that use Trash for Treasure, possibly?
Yeah, I think they added it because it's supposed to go with Trash for Treasure. So it's like artifact-based combo decks. And artifact-based combo decks suck. I'm sorry, but they're just like puzzles for one player, and the other player gets to sit there and see if the other person is successful in solving their puzzle.
Yeah. It's funny
This is
because
what Magic is about.
I've never liked them because they're usually red-focused, and red's one of my least favorite colors on Magic. So I'm like, I don't really care about that. But my best friend, when we were growing up, red was his favorite color. So artifact sacrificing stuff was his jam. He loved that. So I've played against many of these cards.
But it's fine when it's like a kid, right? And it's just
Sure.
like, I'm sacking this to draw a card, and then I also get to bring back this like Solemn Simulacrum. Like, yeah, I'm totally fine with that. It's when you just establish this really long loop with 10 different things you're doing, and you just sit there and hope that they don't draw into the card they need, because you're like still you're 90% to lose, but you're still 10% to win if you just sit there and you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, it's just not like the most fun thing to be playing against.
Oh,
I
for
get
sure.
that a lot of people love that type of deck to play, where it's like a really complicated puzzle that you have to figure out.
It's a lot of
It's
us
like, don't involve me in your complicated puzzle. Just do that on your own.
The people
And
that
I would,
that like that are challengers, just like you and me, like
Right.
Matt Nass, right? So,
yeah. Yeah. As the famous, you know, I don't know if he invented the deck, but I think he did. The Heart Clan Ironworks deck I was just complaining about.
Yeah.
But I know he won a bunch of GPs with it.
yeah. But now he got demoted. Anyway,
I would show up to like Friday Night Magic and I'd pair against someone playing this. I'm like, really, dude? Like, I just wanted to come and play an actual game of Magic, not sit here and either you did nothing and I won easily, or you had your combo and you won easily. Like, I don't need to come here and flip a coin that takes an hour to land.
I don't know. I am totally fine with that. Play those decks.
I'm fine with people playing it, but I don't want you to match me. I don't want to sit there while you do it.
I mean, I have a phone. I can watch videos.
I will be respectful, but I will not be in a great mood.
Twitter's always got something going on. I can just check out what's happening there while I wait for them.
Yeah. It's wake me up
Before you combo. Yeah, exactly. Before we get into that, before I jump right ahead, I just want to say, me personally, I don't know how you feel, but I am home run slam dunk with these cards. I like it.
This is what historic anthologies should look like.
Yes.
The last one, I don't know what the hell that was. This one, love it.
Feels good. Snap keep.
Even if none of these cards make a huge impact, this is just the type of thing that it should look like.
It's not embarrassing to have.
They're taking shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable to think that these cards could at least make some decks, you know.
It's not like half commander only cards that were in precons and you're like, what is this?
And they're just fun cards, yeah. Whereas before it's like, one eyebrow raised, like, never seen this card before, not sure why it's here. It doesn't seem particularly fun. It doesn't seem particularly good. Like,
yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. So we'll give the...
But maybe it was meant to appeal to a different crowd than me.
Totally, yeah. I'm sure people love that one. And but I like...
Oh, we should also mention that there's also Whirler Rogue and Merfolk Looter in the anthology.
Yes, those are also there as well. But go check it out. It's on Wizards' website, as are most things.
Except any sort of competitive play results.
That's true.
On any of Wizards' websites.
You cannot find that anywhere.
Yeah.
And you won't ever find it.
Stream,
you won't ever find it ever again because it doesn't exist really anymore. Wait, Jeff, did you hear that?
No, what?
I think that's last call.
Siren?
It's another siren. Oh no, it is last call, and so we will be right back with our final beers for the evening.
Don't miss it.
All right, Jeff, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Time for the big reveal. 3, 2, 1. All right, okay. I was surprised. All right, so we picked our own beers, but because Collective Arts does different arts.
I had to show you the hypnotic monkey.
Yeah, when you put up the monkey, I was like, "What beer is that?" Because mine don't look like that. Mine look different.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Did you just pick something else from the fridge?"
Just like I didn't like either of them. I got this Budweiser.
That I just like drew a picture of a monkey on. Yeah. So as far as the beers go, I think they were super super close.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But before we get right into all the things, Jeff, I'm going to put you right on the spot. And as you're pouring your beer right now.
Oh, no.
But do you want to quickly run through what our rating system is?
Sure. So we're doing the arena ranked ladder rating system. Who knows how long that'll actually be around, you know. They might just scrap that.
It's too competitive.
Just put everyone in bronze tier.
Yeah.
But so that means the lowest rank is bronze, this is a bad beer. I don't even want to finish the current one that I've poured. That would land you in the bronze category. Silver is macro brews, or let's say they're craft brews that you can't distinguish from a macro brew. That might land in silver. Gold this is fine, but it's not something I'm going to go back to. I'm going to get again and again. Platinum, on the other hand, this is a good beer that I will order again. Diamond would be, this is something exceptional. I would recommend this to people, you know. If they're like, hey, I'm looking for a good beer for the weekend, I'd be like, dude, you got to drink this one. That's a Diamond. And Mythic, these are the best of the best, our favorite beers. These are the ones that, you know, you won't shut up about. People are like, dude, did we get it? You like that beer? And you're like, no, but you don't understand how good it is. You know, you might recommend this to just a random person you see shopping for beer. You'll see them reaching for something else. You'll go, no, you want this one. That's how good the Mythics are.
You slap that beer right out of their hand. No,
Exactly.
You're actually picking up this one instead. It's much better. Trust me, bro.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's now that since we're split, I'm fine with starting with the Pineapple Double IPA, the Grand Terrestrial Rhapsody from Flying Monkeys that I brought. Yeah, I like it. I'm gonna be upfront. I mainly picked it because it has the higher alcohol content, and that's the thing that's gonna kind of push me closer towards it, I think. But yeah, I think it's totally nice. But for me, they were both kind of on a similar scale, and I just wanted to finish this one tonight.
I agree. They're pretty similar.
Yeah.
So this one has, I would say it's kind of my typical issue with Flying Monkeys, in that it just like promises such big things, like their can art and the way they name their beers and just what type of beer it is. It's a Pineapple Double IPA, 8.1%. And I find they usually don't like deliver the flavor that I'm expecting after such kind of big proclamations. And this beer fell in line with that, predisposition I have towards Flying Monkeys again, where it's like, oh, it's this big double pineapple IPA, and then I taste it, it's like, okay, it tastes like an IPA, and I do taste some pineapple, but it's not like, you know, big and wow and punching me in the mouth kind of thing that their cans and their marketing and their, you know, everything suggests to me. And it's the thing I fall for with Flying Monkeys every time, where I'm just like, oh my god, that's gonna be like a wow, and then it's like, this just tastes like an IPA with some pineapple. And
totally. And I think I'm at the point where I kind of know that, where I'm like picking up Flying Monkeys. I'm like, yeah, I'm usually picking up, they always have really high percentage alcohol in most of their beers. And so I kind of know, Flying Monkeys, they're going to go like big as far as alcohol goes, and flavor is like, their bigger IPAs always have a nice, like, deep fullness to it, where there isn't like, the pineapple isn't huge, but like the hops aren't like stabbing me and drying my mouth out. It's really like, it's just kind of juicy and round. And that's it. I'll probably go.
For me, this one's platinum.
It definitely feels platinum. I don't know if I'm kind of like lower platinum. Like, it's totally fine. It's not the first Flying Monkeys I'll pick up, but it's definitely, you know, worth tasting.
Yeah, it's like, you know, in my past description, it's like platinum is good beer and you'll drink it again. But I actually don't know how often I'll actually go back to this.
Yeah.
But I just feel like I don't know, it feels a bit better than gold to me. But and I guess I forgot to say it, but we should give our usual caveat that, like, you know, we're not trying to offend anyone that's in these leagues.
Yes. If you are in one of the kind of lower tiers of starting arena, we're not saying anything bad about you. You know, if you're bronze, you're not a trash player. That has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. No, our rating system for the beers is only inspired by the ranking system on Arena in name.
I'm still working through gold right now, to be honest. So.
I think I might be like gold/bronze.
Yeah,
constructed/limited split.
I just haven't been getting out of it, and Anyway, so let's jump over to the Collective Arts, the one that you are drinking currently.
Okay, yeah. So as a matter of fact, it's just kind of a straightforward, dry hopped blonde, as you know. That's what it's meant to be. And one thing I've often said about Collective Arts is they're just such a solid brewery that if you don't like a particular beer that they make, that's an indicator that you might not like that style. So when somebody's like, I don't know about this style, I say buy the Collective Arts version. If you really don't like that one, you probably don't like the style, because I'm sure they did a at least fine rendition of it. This is one of the ones that maybe proves me wrong on it a little bit, where, you know, a dry hopped blonde ale is a style I really, really like. and I don't love this one. So, like, I think it's still good. It's fine. But my taste might be deceiving me, but I'm going to go beer nerd here. I think I'm tasting Galaxy hops as what they might have used to dry hop, and I don't like Galaxy hops that much. So
Interesting, because
it kind of tastes like trees a little bit.
Because
if you know that like flavor I'm tasting.
Yeah, the Flying Monkeys also used some Galaxy hops in their beer as well.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
As well, I think they use Galaxy quite often, which I actually think I like Galaxy hops, which is funny.
There you go.
Because most of the time, the hop flavors that I don't like are more some of the more
say on the
intense
can
ones.
actually what this uses.
I did not look for it on the other ones.
But it tastes like Galaxy to me, which to me it just tastes like trees. Like if you got some sort of sap that was coming out of a tree, that's what Galaxy hops taste like to me.
It usually just makes it feel like more, maybe a little bit sweeter. Not so like. It really gives more.
That's what
of
I mean about the
juiciness.
like tree sap. You know, like it has that woodsy thing, but a little sweet. Like I don't know.
Interesting. I think I like it.
I know we love maple syrup here, but it says it uses Ella and Centennial. So I like Centennial. I've never heard of Ella before.
So maybe that's what you're confusing with Galaxy. Interesting. But anyway, I'm probably going to
Ella hops.
Look up what Ella hops are. But while you're doing that, I think I'm going to say, I mean, that one's definitely platinum as well. They both feel pretty solid. I would drink them again, but I just felt...
I'm not even lying. I didn't set this up. Ella hops. Ella is the little sister of the Australian superstar Galaxy. Ella and Galaxy share the same mother.
Wow. Look at you.
Well, anyways, I guess I don't like Ella hops that much either.
So anything that's in the Galaxy family.
Yeah, like I don't dislike it. And, you know, hops is only a small part of the equation a lot of the time. And Centennial is something that pretty much everyone likes, which is why a lot of beers use it fairly universally. So it's balanced. But for me, it's that, like, it kind of just tastes like trees. And I always get that in the back of my throat.
Interesting.
El Dorado does a similar thing to me, El Dorado hops. But I think I dislike El Dorado more strongly than I dislike Galaxy.
See, that's so interesting because I think I like Galaxy more than other ones. Most of the time, if I see something that says Galaxy, I'm usually going to like it more than other ones.
For me, it was kind of pronounced because I brewed with it once and I used all Galaxy. And so, like, maybe it was just because that was a disaster. And I'm just like, I hate Galaxy now because I
all right,
fucked up
that makes more sense. You fucked up your beer with Galaxy. Okay.
But it's why I can, like, identify it because I used only Galaxy in that beer, so I know what Galaxy tastes like.
That's true. I guess I've never had a beer that was only Galaxy. It always had a mix of other things in it.
Although I guess I can't identify it because I misidentified it. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, whatever. But yeah, so what are you thinking for the Collective Arts?
This is platinum as well. I think they were both. Like, it's still a well-made beer, and I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's just that I do pick up a little bit of that, and when I think of dry hopped, I don't know. I personally just would like it dry hopped with hops that I prefer, obviously.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, these are definitely ones you should pick up. So look for them at your local store / I don't know, get them shipped to your house. I don't know how you would do that. I don't know if you can. Anyway, because we start, as soon as I start rambling about things, you know that it is closing time. So we should probably close this one out.
I won't even sing it this time.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's been, well, you know, maybe we should do a longer rendition of Closing Time now that the MPL is closing.
For sure.
Closing down. There are no...
That'll be next episode.
Yeah, we should just have a...
90-minute closing time.
It's just on repeat. Maybe we should just... you'll learn how to play it on guitar, and we will do a harmonized version. If you can learn harmonies, because I don't know how to do those.
Wait, you want me to sing and play at the same time?
Yes. You can play first, and we'll record that, and then you'll sing the harmonies.
Oh, yeah, they don't have to know. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. And then we'll have it come in. Anyway, getting totally off track. If you want to talk to us...
You're going to have to throw some trumpet in there, then.
Oh, you know. I'll try. It's been a while. But anyway, you can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram if you want to talk to us about how awesome it would be if we made a rendition of Closing Time / telling us not to ever do that ever.
Also, you might find us on MTG Arena under the username Arena Regulars Podcast. I actually have a sweet draft going, which you're welcome to finish at any time, by the way. I realized I just did half a draft and then left it there.
Ooh, that actually sounds pretty fun, finishing up a draft. If you
It's
ever...
a sweet deck.
Yeah.
I went like 4-0 and then lost and rage quit. So it's still
Wow.
there sitting at 4-1.
Well, then I can't lose, really. It's just all upside from there. By the way, if you've never had a joint account with a friend, it's super fun. Do it if you ever feel like having like a free-to-play account that you just go on every once in a while. It's really cool.
Yeah, and then just have the only friends list on that account be the two people's
Yeah,
accounts.
exactly. It's pretty great. If you ever want to reach me personally, you can find me at Zulberg on Twitter and Instagram. That is ZEULBERG. But Jeff, where can they find you?
You can find me at Blues Brews MTG, also on Twitter.
Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, on iTunes. Follow us on Spotify and Stitcher, at our Anchor websites. You can follow us on all the different places. Give us a comment on YouTube. It would make a huge deal for us. We love any feedback that you have. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that if you want to be a Magic pro, you'd better learn how to time walk.
Good night. All right, that's fine.